All right, welcome to the big picture for the week of November 12th. Just one thing on the menu this week. A question came in last weekend asking me what my year-to-date return was, and I said it's kind of tough to write that, but I can talk about it in a video. The way we're kind of fumbling through learning more about compliance as a firm, and we're under the impression that we cannot write about performance. It becomes sales literature, and so there's things that go with that. However, if you're giving a speech, apparently it's okay to give what the returns have been. It makes no sense to me. I'm not going to try to understand it. I'm just going to try to do what I'm told as far as this stuff goes. There are a couple of caveats that go with talking about performance. First, the account that I use for this is just something I keep on my Yahoo. It's generic. All of the stocks in there are absolutely owned by clients, but it is not specifically a client account. It's just an easy way for me to generally keep tabs on what's going on in the portfolio. I've got some clients that may be up more, some that may be up less. I've got some that may have more cash and some that may have less cash. There's a zillion other caveats, so just take this as very generic type of thing, please. So with that being said, as I calculated, the S&P 500 year-to-date is up 10.6%, and that's rounding up. So far, I believe that it has paid 3 dividends, so that would add what I believe is another 120 basis points. So that makes the total return, by my math, to be 11.8%. Year-to-date through the close, my generic portfolio is up 12.1%. That is all assumes what I think is all dividends. With it, where I keep track of it on Yahoo, I need to manually enter the dividends, so it's possible that I don't account for all of them. Also, I don't keep track of money market interest rate. The generic portfolio has about 15% in cash, and so that would add in and give me a few more basis points. Obviously, it's not substantial. So I guess I'm ahead by 30 basis points. I could just as easily be behind by 30 basis points. It would be the same thing. That really doesn't matter. Where I think it's constructive to kind of explore a little bit is not so much brag that I'm ahead of the market, because in fact, if you've been reading the site for a while, you know that I lost a big lead over the summer and into the fall. I would think I probably shed about 400 or 500 basis points of spread to the S&P 500. The thing I think that's important for you as you're trying to get better at managing your own portfolio and be a more knowledgeable investor, okay, I lost a big chunk of a lead that I had. The reason why is I got a call wrong. I thought that the market was going to be in some trouble. I took some defensive steps. And as I made these moves back in June and July and whenever I did it, as I made these moves, I continually wrote on the site, not to make a big bet. I'm not making a big bet. So here we are with 7 weeks to go in the year. I'm about even with the market. So captured most of the effect, to be sure, with a whole lot of cash. It's got about 15% cash, which is more than normal. To me, that is kind of important. Got something wrong, but not so wrong that clients were, truly hurt by it. And that's kind of important. I had quite a few comments when things were looking ugliest back in the spring, people telling me that they were 50% in cash and 70% in cash, and I was pretty consistent in saying that's a big bet. If the market skyrockets, you're really going to be bummed. And sure enough, I got some emails, I've got too much cash, or not emails, but comments on the blog. I've got too much cash. Should I get back in now? And really, I didn't know what to say to those people. As you manage your own account, you really don't need to make huge bets. I said that when the market was cheap. I'm saying that now that the market is up a lot. Notice I'm not using the word expensive. Perhaps I don't know when expensive is, but the market's up a lot, and I don't know if this is the right time to get in after sitting on 70% in cash. I will say that as we take in new clients, I have no hesitation about implementing them in a fairly normal manner. The thing is getting into the market. If your time horizon is a period of years, being wrong for a few months really should be the furthest thing from your mind. And that may be tough for some people to grab onto, but if you think about it, if you're 45 and you care about when you're 65 or 70 or some other age, what happens on January 1st should be irrelevant to you. It shouldn't matter in the least. Again, assuming you're not taking crazy risks with your portfolio. So that's it really for this week. Is just short and sweet about the portfolio. The thing to really stress on is, I made a big call but didn't take big action. So the consequence for being wrong, in my estimation, is not that great. And I'm not hiding away from the fact that I did get a call wrong, but it's important that clients aren't overly traumatized, for lack of a better word, overly traumatized in their portfolios for any decisions that I make. That's a pretty important thing, and so, I don't think clients feel bad at all. We've had really no complaints from clients. Just kind of how this has gone. Let's face it, I'm up close to 12% for the year. Anyone should be happy with that. That's pretty good, rationally speaking. I wish it had been better. I can always wish it had gone better, but that's what introspection is. Hopefully I've learned something, and hopefully, the mistakes that were made this year don't get repeated. I'll close out by saying I get a lot of off-the-wall comments from people who get very upset at various things that I talk about along these lines. Invariably, someone is going to leave a comment today telling me what an idiot I am, how I've been, so wrong all year. And really, I don't get the point of those comments. Pretending for a second that the person really does believe that way, which is absolutely fair, why are they reading the site? I'm just sharing what I do with people. Hopefully it adds utility. If you read the site, you must, as I said this last week, you must find some utility. If you think I'm a moron, and I'm not going to argue with you whether I am, why are you here? Why do you leave comments? It's kind of peculiar. Same thing, there's one guy preoccupied with the closet doors here. Holy cow, dude. There's got to be other things to do besides that. Anyway, go Arizona Sundogs. Hopefully you read my post, and we'll have more about them on Monday.